Was that 17 minutes? I have no clue how long it was. Okay. Did this other video contain this thing or no? Please leave autoplay on next time. Then I just play house clips. Hold on. Do you think if you open the blinds in your apartment, do you think it genuinely heats your apartment up? Or do you think it's like a negligible impact? I'm starving for drama. Click the Metatron video. It's so boring. Well, I don't know if this is going to be boring, but the last one was boring, and I feel like this response is going to be boring. Like, if he doesn't want to have a back and forth, it's just going to be...
As you know, a couple of days ago I made a video dedicated to the YouTuber and left-wing political commentator Destiny. On said video production I raised a few points of strong criticism against his behavior when it comes to both recent events and I want to say the last couple of 100 years. Well, won't you know it, he responded. So how about we check out that commentary. Let's see this sharp rhetoric of yours, omniliberal. Alright, where does he put himself? Left? Unironically, I'll put myself here. Don't want to be disrespectful and cover him up, do we? What's up with this? He talked about the vice president before talking about me? Unbelievable.
Where's this Metatron video?
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We need to talk about Destiny.
No, this is the Metatron speaking. You know how a few days ago I made a video dedicated to talking about Hassan Piker? Well, today we've got another one, as you know, and this video is dedicated to Destiny. Now, whatever you may think about Destiny's ability to speak, debate, positions, rhetoric, political analysis is all completely irrelevant. Okay. Because as it was the case with Hassan Piker, he too has crossed multiple lines. I used to watch this debate sometimes. I watched him debate Andrew Wilson, I watched him debate Ben Shapiro, and in general, I enjoyed listening to positions from...
I'm watching him watch a video of me. Why not just like talk? No?
both sides in order for me to maintain an open mind and seeing how people counter arguments that otherwise you would only hear within echo chambers. However, I completely stopped watching him after he made fun of the firefighter who lost his life during President Trump's assassination attempt. At that point, I thought that Stephen Bonnell had his level.
Wait, this one I live in Glendale. See. This is from 2019? Okay, based.
Comes to that. So
are we playing PUBG? Oh shit, I'm talking about some wild shit. What do you say?
Watch.
I'm ready for the fucking, the great cleansing, dude.
Cleansing?
Cleansing.
What cleansing?
When we genocide conservatives in this country.
You gonna be on the streets with your dog?
Maybe. I'm gonna go back to Nebraska and grab it.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
Okay, first of all, conversation I'm having, we're running around like a video game. This is my serious political commentary. Okay, base.
No. Okay, right, let me respond to that. This is the weakest defense he could have brought up. Oh, that's the defense. Okay, fantastic. All right, let me come back. Let me counter that. Yes. You see, Destiny, I did say quite a few things about you, and clearly I don't like you, but if there is one thing that I'm willing to say is that I do not believe you're stupid. Therefore, anyone intelligent, when it comes to incitement to violence, they're not going to do it during their serious political debates, such as, for example, when guests into a massive podcast, unless they're completely out of their mind. Now, they're going to do it when they are relaxed and the truth comes out. You see, when Destiny speaks during his debates...
Why, this guy's an idiot. What am I, like... There's this weird world that people occupy where they're like, when you incite your audience to violence, you're not going to do it when they're listening to you for political commentary. It's going to be through subtle nods in your gaming stuff where it's so subtle that nobody is going to pick it up. Like, how am I going to know that my audience is going to understand that I want them to be violent if I'm doing it like when I'm playing PUBG with Mr. Mootin? I don't even have my politics viewers with me while I'm playing this game. They're not even watching me at that point. I'm just playing video games. Like, imagine if all my hardcore serious political commentaries when I was playing Expedition 33 at night, right? The sad thing is that he's like Frankenstein together good. Like, he's Frankenstein together a legitimate, or from legitimate criticism. So for instance, when somebody says, oh, I'm always just joking when I'm being racist, or, oh, I'm always just joking when I call for political violence, right? Well, at that point, then you need to dive into the community. It's like, do they interpret this as a joke? How do they actually take it? Like, is this community like a violent community? Like, if you really want to do a deep dive analysis, then fine, that's fair. Like, I'm not going to sit here and just say, oh, LOL, it's all edgy jokes. What I'm saying is that, like, edgy jokes or comments made in passing while playing video games that stand in contrast to the overwhelming view of the rest of my political analysis is probably not going to be indicative of my views on political violence, and it's probably not going to be indicative of the views that I want my community to have on political violence. Like, how long... I'm curious, actually. Does anybody know for sure? How long ago... Thank you, Truth Sayer.
Clearly I don't like you, but if there's one thing that I'm willing to...
I'm playing a video game. This is my serious political commentary. Grab it.
You genuinely do hate conservatives.
When we genocide. This was... Okay, this wasn't PUBG. This was Warzone, right? When did Warzone come out? When were we playing this?
And I demand...
I think this is it... It's Blackout. Oh, is that what this was? Blackout release date. No. Is it Call of Duty Blackout? What do I suck at? People are saying 2019? 2018 if it's Blackout? Warzone was 2019? Okay, so this is like 6-ish, we'll be generous and say 6 years ago? Is any part of my audience violent? Did any of them go out and commit violence in the 6 years? How did I suck at messaging violence to my audience so much conservatives in this country.
You gonna be on the streets with your blog?
Maybe. I'm gonna go back to Nebraska and grab it.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
Okay, first of all, conversation I'm having, we're running around like a video game. This is my serious political commentary. Okay, base.
No. Okay, right, let me respond to that. This is the weakest defense you could have brought up. Oh, that's the defense. Okay, fantastic. All right, let me come back. Let me counter that. Yes. You see, Destiny, I did say quite a few things about you, and clearly I don't like you, but if there's one thing that I'm willing to say is that I do not believe you're stupid. Therefore, anyone intelligent, when it comes to incitement to violence, they are not going to do it during their serious political debates, such as, for example, when guests into a massive podcast, unless they are completely out of their mind. Now, they're going to do it when they are relaxed and the truth comes out.
Like, maybe I might not do it during serious podcasts, but would I not do it during my serious political streams? When I'm doing serious political analysis? Wouldn't that be when it comes out? Or am I literally only top secret embedding these memes while I'm playing video games and my main political audience isn't even watching me?
You see, when Destiny speaks during his debates, he's using his strategy. I mean, that's what he does, right, for a living. Therefore, any debater has an idea of what points he wants to use, what kind of counter-argument he's got prepared. So clearly, I doubt that I can't wait to genocide conservatives on the street is going to be something he will say during a public debate, although then again, never say never. No, you said it when your guard was down. Perhaps when you thought that this clip wouldn't have been made public. What I think you did in this situation, Destiny.
When I'm on my top secret gaming stream that I'm broadcasting to the entire world, that's probably still available on like VODs on my YouTube channel. Like, okay. Like, this is just like I can't, it's unfalsifiable. Like, I can't even counter what he's saying because it's not even a real argument, right? Well, why don't I bring this up during my like actual political content or my debates? Oh, well, that's when you're in top secret mode. Okay, why the fuck would I bring it up in the gaming streams? Well, that's when you're letting the truth out when you didn't even think it would ever go public. So I want my audience to be violent, but I don't say it in times when they're listening to me for political speak. I'm hoping that they'll subtly pick it up. Like, you could at least back this up with are there a bunch of subreddit posts or comments that my community has made where they seem to be endorsing political violence, where at least you could back it up with stuff like that, no?
Is accidentally tell the truth.
Like, this is like the laziest type of political commentary, is let me find a clip and then let me go ahead and spin like this whole narrative about how I think you approach political debate. Like, I literally have documents where I'm talking about like debate prep, like what is the rhetoric that I want to use for this debate? How do I want to come across? What are the points that I want to hammer on? Like this is all out here. You can watch me prepare for these.
But please continue.
This was later. Oh, this was even earlier. Oh, that's Devin. How old is this one? 2018? I wonder what the context is.
You genuinely do hate conservatives, don't you?
Very much so. Like, I move full on to like political violence or real violence. When it comes to conservative, I didn't need to be like excised from my fucking country. I didn't get the fucking evil people bang walls and most people do.
Sure, you said a saint.
And I just think because yeah. I didn't get the fucking evil people bang walls and most people do.
See, he just said true. So you just completely annihilated any weight of the defense mechanism that you tried to place. It's an old clip, right? But if you agree with it on camera, it means that your opinions haven't changed. I mean, that would have been the only defense that you could have used in this situation.
If you agree with it on camera, first of all, both clips are on camera. Secondly, both those clips are from like 7 years ago. I don't even remember the arguments I was making 7 years ago. I know the thing on screen had to do with I think like radicalization or whatever. It is possible at some point I feel like I've gone back and forth kind of on political violence in the past, but I mean I feel like everybody has. But like if you want to, like, what is the goal here? Is the goal to figure out what position did I hold 6 years ago? Like, if that's the goal, then do a better job than just finding a clip. Go find posts from my subreddit. Go find long-form political discussions. Like, that's literally what I do on my stream. I have political debate. I have political discussions. And then take it apart if you want to do that. Or if the goal is to, like, establish that was my view. If your goal is to argue against the view, then, I mean, you completely failed to do that. But I mean, maybe he would just assume this is a truism. You can never have this view.
By telling us that this was a clip from 2018. It's from 2018, but at the time it was different. I was a different man. I thought different things. But I don't think this anymore. No, he just said true. You just...
Oh, wait. So he thinks...
See, he just said true.
Oh,
so
wait, he's talking about me saying true here.
Very much so. Like, I move full on to like political violence or real violence. When it comes to conservative, I didn't need to be like excised from my fucking country. I didn't get the much fucking evil people bang walls and most people do.
Sure, you said a saint.
And I just think that
Why said there are evil fucking people? Yeah, I do think that's kind of true right now.
yeah, I didn't get the much fucking evil people bang walls and most people do.
See, he just said true. So you just completely annihilated any weight of the defense mechanism that you tried to place. It's an old clip, right? But if you agree...
The defense mechanism. Why do you actually give people like this clout and attention? Because people wanted me to respond to it. I don't know. Like, this is part of this is kind of, oh, and I guess he's got 300K views in 2 days. Like, why not just, I'm open for a debate or a conversation if that's what you want. Or you could just like look at a long form thing and have a conversation about it. But it's like, it's not even like trying to engage critically with anything. It's like, can I find a clip to say that you said a thing and then that's it? Like, I'm right here, bro. You don't have to find clips from 7 years ago. Or if I'm reacting to clips from 7 years ago, like, it's pretty easy to just have a conversation about this.
Are relevant regardless, or whether they be from 2018 or from 1518 at this point.
I'll go to 10 minutes on this, and then, but I have a feeling this is all going to be slap. Yeah. Again, I said this is going to be a plan. I'm going to hit hard for the next 6 months. This concept of politics is when I talk, and that's all it is. And as long as I'm only talking and only doing politics, I can't possibly hurt anybody or harm anybody, is the most privileged position. It is a luxury position to take. It's just politics.
Not my point. Strawman. The point you just made is a construct of your mind. I never said that. I never said politics. I mean, anyone who understands history knows that politics are not just talking. However, if you are indecent and talk about calls to actions and violence, not actionable.
Politics is just talking. Nobody's really getting hurt, lol. There are too many examples, especially now with Trump too, where this is just not the case.
I agree. Charlie just got shot.
Like, if you want to do politics, then you have to grow up and be a big boy and realize that when you advocate for unhinged, crazy, insane shit, that there are going to be people that take unhinged, crazy positions in response to it. That's how the world has always worked through all human history.
I would like you to remember this. So what was his general point here? He's justifying now, this is the next layer of justification. Interesting from a psychological point of view, by the way. He's admitting that his takes are batshit crazy.
Unhinged, crazy positions in response to it.
But it's only because the other side has crazy batshit statements. So I can say the stuff I say, and it's fine, even though he did admit that it's crazy stuff, simply because the other side is doing it as well. Right? This is the reaction motivation. I'm reacting to the other side, therefore whatever I do is justified. Also, here's another problem.
Whatever I do is justified. If I say that there might be people that take up political positions of violence against them, that you can resist the state violence. I think I made this argument, like one argument I'd probably still stand by if this guy would ever bother to look at more than 20-second clips, is the argument that I made about DACA people a long time ago, that there might be a justification for DACA recipients to fight against the state trying to forcibly remove them from their homes.
With that, it's a false equivalence. So let's say for a second, the right wing did something bad. I'm going to do the same thing to them. You can take that position as long as it's not illegal, but then you lose the moral ground. Because
oh my God, and then it's this fucking midwit position of like, oh, well, if you do the same thing that they're doing to you, if somebody shoots at you and then you shoot back, you've lost the moral high ground. At 1846, he talks about J6.
Hold on. What? Me tweeting out, calling out the rhetoric that literally led to the entire J6 insurrection is actually the rhetoric that radicalizes people?
And while January 6th was wrong, it was wrong of those people to do the insurrection. Nobody died. Charlie Kirk did. So I'm more interested in discussing Charlie Kirk's throat exploding at this point. Also because that was the topic of this discussion. And
is it just about the number? First of all, I think there are 4 or 5 deaths you can connect pretty reliably to January 6th, one of the day of, I think. But is that, do we just measure it in only deaths right now? Not just Ashley Babbitt, but I think there's a cop in Ashley Babbitt, and then there are 3 or 4 other cops that I think you can clearly connect.
And this is my critique, which he still hasn't addressed. At one point during this, he actually says he doesn't know what country I'm from. I'm from Sicily. And back home, we do have an expression, a proverb, that I think is perfectly fitting. So I'm just going to say it now in Sicilian and I'll translate. The proverb goes, "O vero suido è cum vuole sientere." That means the true deaf is the person who doesn't want to hear. He does not want to hear what I actually have to say. Can we...
I'm the one that people always do this weird virtue signal shit. Charlie Kirk did this shit too, where it's like, oh no, I'm open. I'll have a dialogue. I'll have a discourse. Like, you're not open to hearing what I'm saying. Bro, we can chat anytime you want. Like, but okay, I'm good. It's retarded. Okay, somebody said these guys had an issue. Okay, these guys are much more intelligent. The guru guys.
I've got an example which I think is related. I wonder if it's too tangential, but let me see what you think, Matt, because, we do the segment on here, streamers talking bullshit, right? And I think this counts for this category. So in the week of Charlie Kirk's assassination, Destiny has been talking about it, as you might anticipate, right? And generally, we've been positive towards Destiny, covering various topics with more nuance around conspiracy stuff, especially the Epstein case. In the week of Charlie Kirk's shooting, his stance is that we being people on the left, should not be disavowing violence because Trump and MAGA will not disavow violence. So it's a one-sided disarmament.
Black screen for chat. Yeah, it's a it's like a podcast. There's no video.
To be doing that. So on various media and most recently on Piers Morgan, when asked, will you disavow the violence, he's like, after Trump does. I'll do it after Trump does, right? And also made extreme claims about like where America is currently, like in civil war, which is not true, right? And in one note, it's actually surprising because one of the things that I thought Destiny argued distinguished himself.
So before this guy argues against my position, right? He's able to summarize it accurately. That's good. Nice.
From people like Hassan and others was like that he wasn't promoting violence or, like saying that that's a reasonable thing. He was highlighting that the fact that people were able to do that with impunity on platforms was a problem and a sign of like radicalism, right? But like to me, the response in the Charlie Kirk thing looks very similar if you're doing that, especially when you have a big audience and you're, like you can't just say, I condemn political violence right now.
Well, my theory, Chris, is that inside Destiny are 2 wolves. There's the sort of, evidence.
I think one of the, I don't know if I'll ever go on their show to argue this, but one of the differences is, I guess it's hard to know. I'm trying to think if it's possible to qualify every position as it comes out. So somebody says something like, oh, like violence is never acceptable. And then it's like, okay, but what if somebody attacks you first? Like, well, okay, well then in that case, yeah, probably is acceptable, right? The opposition that I would have to people like Hassan calling for violence is the fact that he just seems to be encouraging like Houthi terrorists taking over civilian ships in the ocean. I think that is a completely and totally unjustified, horrendous call to violence. But like if Hassan was out here saying that like, well, if the IDF is trying to break into your home, you know, and they've already killed a family member and you want to shoot back, well, I think that Palestinians, you know, have a right to do that. I mean, I'd probably be okay with that, right? There are going to be forms of violence that I think are probably acceptable, especially in self-defense, of course. I don't think I've called for violence, unless you're saying that me saying I'm not going to disavow is the same thing as calling for violence. I don't think I've ever called for violence here, but I do think that the one-sided disavowals are super dumb.
Yeah, I condemn political violence right now.
Well, my theory, Chris, is that inside Destiny are two wolves. There's the sort of, you know, evidence-based, pretty good take maker, and then there's the edgelord
Streamer,
deplorable
tweeter.
And you know, sometimes one wolf is barking, and sometimes the other one.
Right. No, the thing there, none of that though. That is just like, you know, streamer.
I do think I appreciate all these guys' takes on like conspiracy-related shit and everything. 1,000,000,000,000%. I am curious what they think the current state of the United States is, though. I'm curious about that because, like, when people say, for instance, like I'm an edgelord, I would say that Donald Trump is infinitely more edgy. Like, I wish I can't even hold a candle to Donald Trump's edginess. That when the president of the United States is questioning whether or not, like, Ilhan Omar should be deported from the United States and accusing her of marrying her brother. Like, as the president of the United States, these are statements of edginess that I can't even, just because of my position in society, I could never even get as close to these, how insane these statements are. Fuck, I don't know how long ago this was. But, like, it's so fucking cringe. This platform is so gross. Holy shit. Ilhan Omar's country of Somalia is plagued by a lack of central government control, persistent poverty, hunger, resurgent terrorism, piracy, decades of civil war, corruption, and pervasive violence. 70% of the population lives in extreme poverty and widespread food insecurity. Somalia is consistently ranked among the world's most corrupt countries. Also, even saying here, Ilhan Omar's country of Somalia, okay, including bribery, embezzlement, and a dysfunctional government. Who does that sound like right now? All of this, and Ilhan Omar tells us how to run America. P.S. Wasn't she the one that married her brother in order to gain citizenship? This is not true. What scum we have in our country. Scum? I don't even know why he's calling her scum. Because she's politically opposite to him? Or because she's from Somalia? Or because what? What scum we have in our country telling us what to do and how to do it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Like, that's insane. Like, that's crazy. Unhinged. It's not even edgy. It's just deplorable.
Political take bullshit, right? Like, whatever, who cares? But the issue, and why I think it relates to what we were just talking about, was to justify that take, he referenced the prisoner's dilemma, okay? And he talked about tit for tat, you know, the strategy in this behavioral economics game, which tends to do very well in the famous competitions that Axelrod ran, I think it was in the 70s, right? Or the 80s. But in any case, that strategy has played up. And Prisoner's Dilemma, I'm not going to go through it because we've got actually entire podcast episodes dedicated to where we went through the game theory. But it's just this little scenario in behavioral economics where it's like...
Didn't you have the same sense on the firefighter, if I remember correctly? Why are they calling it right now? Well, I think everybody called me out during the firefighting thing too, right?
Looking at, given a payoff structure, how there can be an issue with generating cooperation, good outcomes for two people in a dyad when there is a self-interested payoff structure that could benefit them at the cost of the other, right? How do you get cooperation to emerge under these conditions? And various games that people played with different strategies in these little interactions find that different things do well. Now, tit for tat, like the name suggests, is this strategy which outperformed many others, which was that you do what the previous program did to you, right? So there's only two options in this game: cooperate or defect. So if the other player defected in the last game, you defect as your first move in this game, right? If they cooperate, you remain cooperative, and if they defect, you defect, right? And Destiny uses this to justify his position. It reminded me of when Gary from Gary's Economics was using the Prisoner's Dilemma recently to explain how it shows that economists are all evil because they want...
How dare you? How dare you make that comparison? These guys are my enemy now. Fuck decoding the gurus.
Everyone from Gary's Economics was using the Prisoner's Dilemma recently to explain how it shows that economists are all evil because they want everyone to engage in tit for tat. And it's in the same genre of mistakes, right? Because Destiny, he did mention when he was talking about it that there's all other things, and this is just an example, and maybe he's just using it as a rhetorical flourish. But I think by invoking that, you're giving the impression that this is a more complex, stratagem based on insights from behavioral economics. And the first thing is, Matt, that doesn't hold up because, as you know, the strategy which does the best in those little games is generous tit for tat. go and look it up, right? Go and look it up. It is generous tit for tat, which outperforms all the others in most of the scenarios. Generous tit for tat. Matt, can you tell me what makes generous tit for tat different?
Yeah, generous tit for tat works because it helps you avoid a death spiral where you're both just constantly getting revenge on each other. But I think I mentioned generous tit for tat, but we're way past what generous tit for tat would allow us to do, right? Like we're way, way, way past that. We're at like tit for tat. Also, maybe actually, and in listening to these guys talk, actually, maybe I did do. I'm seeing a criticism of something I said. Maybe I did a poor job at explaining this. The whole point of cooperate, defect, and then so if they cooperate and they defect, then he defects, and then he cooperates, and then he cooperates, but now he defects. But because there's some generosity, maybe you forgive a defect and then you cooperate. And then ideally you're stuck on this road now of cooperation, right? The point of like a tit for tat strategy, or the point of this generous tit for tat strategy, the point of this isn't to say that now that they got us, now we can get them. That's not, the point is not this, right? The point is avoiding this by making it so what happens is if you're both cooperating, this guy, we're all cooperating, everything's good. This guy knows if I defect here, even though I can take advantage of him here, he's probably going to defect here. The whole point is avoiding this first defect because he knows that if he does it, then this guy is going to defect here. That's the whole point of this. So then the incentive is to keep cooperating so that everybody keeps cooperating. That's the whole point, right? Generous tit for tat was the strat you supported. Yeah, of course, because obviously you can't go crazy every time the other person goes crazy, because then you both end up in a death spiral. And there's a variety of reasons why generous tit for tat is good as well. Yeah, somebody brought up Sapolsky goes over signal error. You might get unclear signals. You might misinterpret something, whatever. And it's just better for everybody. Yeah.
Than tit for tat. You heard my undergraduate student here.
Well, Chris, generous tit for tat is when you start the game cooperating. So you lead with cooperation before then following your opponent. If your opponent then responds cooperatively, you go on. But otherwise, you defect.
That's right, Mr. Brown. You did well there. But also...
Is it partial credit? Is that a partial credit?
Because you suggested that it is only that the first move is cooperate. Would you like to clarify?
Well, yeah, generous tit for tat allows you to, at some percentage of the time, forgive a defection. That's the whole point. It's not just starting at cooperation. It's forgiving a defection every now and then.
Well, I mean, if the other player then cooperates back, or in further rounds, then you will cooperate, just like normal tit for tat.
Yeah, but I believe most generous tit for tat strategies include that there is a random chance that you will, in response to a defection, generate
holding out the olive branch.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
So
what is that probability? Do you know? What's the
I think he said 10% in the video for the guy that did the computer program thing. I don't know if there are more generous or less generous versions, but
oh, damn it! You turned it back. But let's forget about it. Like the details.
Details don't matter.
No, the point is, like, in that case, right, the generous thing indicates that you are the one making the first move towards cooperation, even if you're dealing with someone who's a known defector, right? This is the general thing. So
is that true? That wasn't my interpretation of it. Is a known defector. The whole point of these strategies, I thought, or one of the largest underlying points, is to incentivize the other person to play the same strat. That's like the underlying thing behind tit for tat, is that the underlying thing for tit for tat is that the other side avoids the tat because you all cooperate. That's the whole point, is you're just rewarding good behavior, and bad behavior will likely be punished.
You are the one making the first move towards cooperation, even if you're dealing with someone who's a known defector, right?
Because if you're dealing with someone who's a known defector, I would argue that this is a big misunderstanding. Then you don't cooperate. If you can predict with 100% accuracy, if you know they're defecting, well, then you defect every time. I think that's the winning move, unironically. It would be to not cooperate.
This is the general thing. So if you want to argue from Prisoner's Dilemma and behavioral economics that that's going to determine your political strategy, then in most scenarios, generous tit for tat, which is you taking the step that the defectors are not taking, is the better option. And even on top of that, Matt, once you add in reputation dynamics and you add in the step that the defectors are not taking is political strategy, then in most scenarios, generous tit for tat, which is you taking the step that the defectors are not taking, is the better option. And even on top of
only because you know they won't defect, though. When they're using this term, I don't know if this was used in any of the Prisoner's Dilemma or strategy explanations, this known defector term, there is no incentive to cooperate with a known defector. I don't know any version of tit for whatever no tits help you cooperate with a known defector. That would just never happen because you're always going to get fucked over, right?
For that, Matt, once you add in reputation dynamics and you add in things like third parties, right, who can observe interactions, all of these things serve to increase the efficiency of using cooperative strategies, right?
Oh, I super disagree with that. Third parties can enforce cooperative strategies, but third parties can also enforce destructive strategies. It really depends on what the incentive of the third party is. So for instance, if the third party in the United States was an objective and fair and unbiased media, then they would heavily incentivize cooperative strategies, I would imagine, right? Because now we have really high transparency to both sides, and we would imagine media in the United States wants the country in general to do better, and you want people to respond predictably to other people doing good or bad things. So like that would be a really high level of transparency that would be good. But if the third party was, say, Russian bots, who are going to constantly lie about what the other side does, because they want to drive us into a defector, call and response over and over again, well, that third party would be really bad, right? Like in order for any kind of prisoner's dilemma, any kind of tit for tat thing to work, there has to be a high level of transparency. There has to be a high level of transparency for the strategies to be transparent, I guess. I'm saying that, but technically speaking, there could be low transparency that also makes for people cooperating, right? Like at the end of The Dark Knight, when Harvey Dent kills the cops or whatever, and Batman jumps off, that's a low level of transparency. They want to lie and say that, well, Harvey Dent was actually a good guy all the way up to the end, because if they make him a bad guy, then there would be a defection, and the defection would be all the prisoners being released that were locked up because of Harvey Dent's RICO stuff. So that would be an example of low transparency being used to enforce more trust. But yeah, you know what I mean, right?
Observe interactions. All of these things serve to increase the efficiency of using cooperative strategies, right? Like the defectors continue to be published, or defectors are punished more the more that you add in these different mechanisms, right? So like if you want the
defectors are only, I mean, unless you start making the system more complicated, but I'll probably agree with anything more. Defectors are only punished when you also defect, though. That's the issue. They don't get punished when you cooperate. They leech. That's a free rider problem almost. Would you call this free rider maybe? Like a defect, and you'd argue there's like moral hazard here as well, right? Like what is the incentive to behave in any moral manner if you're constantly rewarded for immoral behavior?
Justify your political stance by appealing to game theory, it doesn't support that. And in any case, you shouldn't be using game theory in that way, right? Like in just taking the prisoner's dilemma scenario.
I super disagree with this. I think the game theory shows up in very predictable ways. I think it shows up in such predictable ways, people's propaganda literally plays into it. Think of it this way. What was Mitch McConnell's explanation that worked for the country and for Congress for stealing a Supreme Court seat? That was a game theory explanation, remember? He said that when Harry Reid, Yes. Sorry. Okay. Fuck. Sometimes I call this guy Harriet Reid. When Harry Reid made it so that under Obama that they could accelerate judicial picks because the Republicans were blocking everything, McConnell said, "Oh, well, you're going to do this here for us. Well, we're going to get you back in the future." And McConnell's way of getting back the tit for tat from McConnell to the Democrats for accelerating the judge picks there was to do it to block the Supreme Court nomination. Right? That was literally and explicitly what McConnell sold to the American public as a tit for tat. So I feel like this shows up, even though it's kind of cringe to analyze it as like game theory and even prisoner's dilemma and tit for tat and all that. Like, I mean, it does. I think this shows up naturally in like natural human behavior.
And in justifying, well, tit for tat says that that's what we need to do. Like it's a rhetorical flourish.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same as Brett Weinstein, and it was famously clipped.
One major limitation of almost all game theory is it's way overly simplified compared to the complexities of the real world. People say that, but that's true of literally every single thing ever. All scientific models are simplified. Every single thing, supply and demand is simplified. All of it is simplified for sure. You can always augment or change the way these things work, but fundamentally they express hopefully some truth, or they give you some insight or analysis of the world.
That's what we need to do. Like it's a rhetorical flourish.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same as Brett Weinstein, and it was famously clipped referencing game theory like a million times. It's a joke because of this, right?
I don't even know how Brett Weinstein uses it. That wouldn't surprise me though if he uses it in a fucking retarded way. Brett Weinstein, game theory. But what if both sides think the other is a known defector? Then both sides like drive themselves off a cliff. That's why some people argue, like that's the analysis where we say Russia doesn't favor one side. They just want to cause mayhem and chaos. That's the goal, is to make both sides not trust the other side, because then you're in a race to the bottom. Oh, God.
Would you consider having YouTube lectures to a beginner to get a grasp of game theory? Where to begin? So let me give you an example. Looking at the evidence,
Takes a lot of work. I don't have the time.
and I don't care.
I prefer hysteria. Viewers do as well. We have found
Perverse incentives there. Well, that's just game theory, game theory, game theory, game theory, game theory.
game theory, 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 game theory,
Game theory.
game theory. Evo Psych is easy, and
Hard to falsify. We wrote a book.
we spent less than a day.
You cannot shut down these hypotheses of ours. If you ask me, how do we know? I will just say, well, that's just game theory.
At Destiny, that's why a lot of people somewhat understandably discount all of economics. Sure, there are things that map into the real world, but the complexities of the real world are such a big factor. No, every credible person thinks that economics can give you a lot of insight into the real world. All of our central banking systems, all of our huge economies rely on some kind of economic and finance understanding. They might not be able to predict everything, but they guide a lot of our understandings of what are things happening in the economy and how we interact with the economy, like economists and people that do monetary policy, and then finance for business people or whatever. Yes, but one should see the limitations of such a simplified model and see that the way one describes the payoffs versus costs obviously decides whether one should always defect or cooperate. Sure, but I'm just saying, remember, how is it that the Republicans constantly justify their abhorrent behavior? Like, what do? They engage in a form of game theory. What do they say? They say the Democrats did it first. They've been doing this to us forever. Now we're going to do it back. They've been doing this. They've killed our people. They've done that. We haven't done anything, right? What are they doing? They're saying they've done the tit. Now we're going to do the tat, right? They engage in the same type of rationalizations.
Game theory, game theory, game theory.
How would someone argue against game theory? Why do they argue against this model rather than coming up with examples it doesn't work? Well, I don't know if they necessarily, technically it's not the underlying model that's wrong. It'll be the application of the model. And their argument was my application of the model was poor, which I would disagree with, but maybe if we went back and forth, maybe I feel like we'd probably ultimately agree.
Big wrong with these theoretical models of incorporating interactive agents, and they're pretty great actually as their own little niche field of modeling. But when you apply them like this to any old thing in society, then it's just nothing more than a rhetorical flourish, and that's why it's got a bad reputation.
I mean, you definitely can apply it in a super stupid way, but I do agree with that. But I think it fits very cleanly onto a lot of how politics works in the United States. That people view politics as like a form of revenge sometimes. I mean, even look at Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly bringing up we never came back from Obama. This is our way of getting him back.
Yeah. So it isn't like, I mean, people have often talked about the Cold War, right, and nuclear warheads in the manner of a prisoner's dilemma, right? Like, and there you actually, in that case in particular, they're talking about Russia and the US. Right? But once you add in a whole bunch of different countries and stuff, then it kind of public good games and other games would be more relevant to model the interactions. And if you're interested in that, there's a whole entire fields of political science that try to do that. But so it's not. There's no issue with invoking this notion that if you want to talk about that your stance is based on like somebody who's constantly defecting, who's breaking all the rules, right? Like a dictator who's behaving illiberally, that this justifies a response that is illiberal, or violence might be the appropriate reaction to that or whatever. Like, that's fine, but it's not true to say game theory supports that this is accurate, that's the best strategy and this will lead to the best outcomes over time and more cooperation. Like, no, that's not the case. You can advocate for whatever position you like, but the game theory prisoner's dilemma experiment does not provide you the kind of theoretical justification for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it does. I feel like they're only looking at game theory retrospectively, but I feel like the point is you look at it prospectively, or maybe you can look at it in both ways. Like the idea would be that people don't defect because they don't want the other side to defect. So you cooperate knowing that if you cooperate, the other side will cooperate. And you cooperate knowing that if you defect, the other side will likely defect. Like that's the point, is it encourages good future behavior going forward, right? Like to tie it back to when I said conservatives need to be scared, right? Everybody needs to be scared of political violence happening at events. The idea is that if you're afraid of like a tit for tat, if you're afraid of a defection from the other side, well, then you cooperate. And then if the other side is afraid of a defection from the other side, then they cooperate. So then it leads to everybody cooperating and there's like no political violence. But if the other side thinks that the other side either will never defect, so they can just do infinite political violence, which is, I feel, kind of where the Conservative Party's been at, then it encourages them to defect infinitely or drive up infinite political violence. Or if they think the other side's going to defect no matter what, then they'll just continue to defect and everything is fucked.
No. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well, I've got an example which I think is...
Destiny, true. USSR versus USA wasn't a prisoner's dilemma. If one were to betray, they wouldn't gain, they would lose. Well, that's the point of like prisoner's dilemma, is that when both sides betray, everybody loses. So like the mutually assured destruction is a form of like prisoner's dilemma. As long as both sides cooperate, they have the best outcome, which is that nobody would be nuked, right? If one side betrays, well, then the other side will betray simultaneously. That's why there's so much. That's why so much attention is given to like missile defense systems, or like first strike, or analysis of surveillance and stuff on enemy nuclear weapons, is because you want to make sure that if the other side defects, that you can defect instantly, because you don't want to wait for because if one side defects and the other doesn't, well, then the other side is completely annihilated, right? That's the genocide example of my political violence Punnett square, whatever the fuck, I don't know if you call it Punnett square, right? But if one side can defect and then the other side doesn't, then they get eliminated, and that's where the greatest reward is one side defects and the other doesn't. But when people talk about like missile shield systems being scary, the scary thing is that if one side can eliminate you and they've eliminated their downside and you can't defect, if you can force a cooperation on one side, no matter what they do, or no matter what you do, if you force cooperation on the other side, like with a missile defense shield, well, that means theoretically you can defect and gain a better advantage by destroying the other side infinitely, and they can never defect against you. That's why those missile shields were seen as like not a good thing sometimes, or people would argue against them, because it's like, well, hold on, if it tips the balance of power or whatever. Yeah. Again, you're assuming only two rational actors in the same position. This is too simplified of a model to weigh your argument on. True, I'm sorry. No models ever work ever in the real life for anything ever, because every single thing always has more complexity. Supply and demand is not real. Newtonian physics is not real. I don't know how we ever got to the moon. Every single model and everything should be tossed and doesn't work and can't predict anything, because everything is completely and totally random and irrational, and left to chance, because a simplified model can't predict every single possible thing without an infinite and unlimited number of variables. True.
Presumed to be 14 in boys and...
Jesus. Wait, hold on.
It's presumed to be 14 in boys and 12 in girls. Tom, what is the age of consent? No. It's presumed to be 14...
Okay. Bro, Starbucks is like battleground, station zero for so many cultural fights. Jesus Christ. Petitioners push for Starbucks to memorialize Charlie Kirk's signature order on their menu. My God. Intelligence report leaked to me warns of trans militant cult, a framing echoed by Vice President J.D. Vance. The new counterterrorism mission is here. Really? We're really going to do this? We're going to spend the next decade talking about trans... I feel like we spent the last decade talking about trans shit. The fuck is this?
And I demand their firing. I demand their immediate firing, because your lack of action when this has been brought to your attention that someone wished the death upon others, and you're okay with this. And there are people that are upset about this, and you couldn't give a crap about it. That's what this says to people. And my tone of voice is not yours to monitor, ma'am. How many decibels I speak, you cannot ask me to leave. I will not play by your rules. I will not be silenced by you anymore. Okay? This LGBTQAI plus nonsense and people wishing death on us, the Christians. And you know what? This is what a guy named Destiny said. He said those people are so dangerous. Their ideology is so backward, so primitive, so hateful.
I said all
that
of
we
this.
have absolutely no choice but to kill them first.
Do you see the game of telephone from my stream to online to Fox News to these? Like, remember, this is just a single clip by me Now imagine this game of telephone being played with Democrats, being played with the Clintons, being played with Obama, being played with the Bidens for over a decade. For over a decade.
Because they are a threat to us. And you're pumping that shit into kids' heads. Your teachers are pumping that shit into kids' heads. And I demand it stop. I demand counseling for the kids that were hurt by Charlie Kirk's death that he dissed. He can have free speech, he just can't have a job on taxpayer money. You need to check yourself and correct yourself and get rid of him. It is the will of the people, and we are done with you with your rules. She won't even look at me. You're a foul and evil woman. You're a coward. Why don't you look?
Is Reddit just full of socialists and retards nowadays? I go on RL and there are like 3 posts that are celebrating Disney stock going down 2%. Yeah, for some reason a lot of online spaces got co-opted by the cringy fucking tanky people now. It used to be progressives and now it's like the tankies.
Look at me. Hey! You want to talk to me?
Insult that woman. Don't you insult that woman.
Why not?
Because she's doing the best she can, and you don't know what we think.
She's not doing the best she can.
You don't know what we think. We haven't even made a decision yet.
You should have made a decision when you found out. When did you know? When did you know?
On Friday, we're taking it, we're doing the best we can.
You're too slow. The world is moving on way too fast for you, old man.
Old man.
I'm serious.
Old man.
There's 3 or 4 more public comment slots
All
left.
of those in favor of adjournment, please signify.
Is that what it says?
Uh-oh. Wait, somebody got hit?
All of those in favor of adjournment, please signify.
Is that what it says?
Ooh, he hit him. Oh, he hit his phone?
Hands up.
Are you sure?
How many decibels
We're doing the best.
Four more public comment slots
All
left,
of those in favor of adjournment, please signify.
Is that what it says? No.
My fault. I'm sorry. That was my fault, guys.
My view was that part of the
Let me
role of the presidency is to constantly remind us of the ties that bind us together. And we live in a big, complicated, raucous, diverse nation. I've said before, I believe, it is what makes us exceptional. There's never been an experiment like this, where you have people from every corner of the globe show up in one place and say, based on these ideals, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. That based on that, and a constitution, and a Bill of Rights, and a democracy, that we can somehow figure out how to get along and maintain our private beliefs and pray to God in our own ways and retain aspects of the cultures that we bring from wherever it is that we're coming from, and yet still decide that we are all Americans who can salute that flag and believe in a certain creed and defend this country and try to make it better for each successive generation. And I'm not alone in that belief. As I said, I think George W. Bush believed that. I believe that people who I ran against, I know John McCain believed it. I know Mitt Romney believed it. So this, what I'm describing is not a Democratic value or a Republican value. It is an American value.
Gen Alpha's like, who's that guy? He should run for president. Did you hear that that one dude from Fox News got fired? Oh wait, he didn't get fired?
More on that later. The point is that Kimmel's comments went way too far for some television executives. Not for me, not for you, but for them. And they turned up the heat on Kimmel, the host, to calm down the rhetoric. More on that later. The point is that Kimmel's comments...
Today, neighbors and community leaders are calling for the firing of Fox News host Brian Kilmeade. Last week, Kilmeade said homeless and mentally ill people should be by an unhoused man.
Is it really that hard to just find the original clip? I can't find it by just immediately searching for it and having it be the absolute first thing that comes up? Okay, that's okay.
Health and the homeless population, a lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right.
Just kill him. Just kill him. Just kill him. Maybe it's like, maybe when he says involuntary injection, he just means Medicaid. Oh, he said involuntary lethal injection. Well, maybe he misspoke. Like he meant involuntary. Oh, just kill him. Oh.
The way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right. I would say this. We're not
Nobody even flinches around him, by the way.
Voting for the right people. In North Carolina, wake up.
I'm joined now by the senator from Georgia, John Ossoff. Thanks so much for joining me.
Our boy.
Thank you, Brian. Good to see you.
You too.
Our pixels.
So we have watched as Donald Trump successfully pressured Jimmy Kimmel's show into being canceled. We're watching right now as the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, is doing a victory lap over the same thing. And we're watching as Donald Trump is now leaning on NBC to cancel the last two remaining late night critics. How are you looking at this in terms of what the Senate can do within its own capacity to push back on this overreach from the federal government? I mean, this is what a First Amendment violation looks like when you have the federal government itself leaning on these private institutions to punish them over speech that's critical of the administration.
Yeah, Brian, first of all, this is a serious escalation.
Remember, the FBI, that was controlled by Donald Trump, because it was when Donald Trump was in office, the FBI suggesting to Twitter that there are Chinese and Russian accounts that they should ban, and then Twitter ignoring it because Twitter said that they didn't feel like they needed to ban those accounts, that counted as a First Amendment violation. And all the cucks like that Ryan dude and Uncivil, all these guys all argue these were First Amendment violations, okay? That constituted a First Amendment violation, but this FCC thing is totally A-okay. I don't know how of those guys, if they've said that the FCC thing is okay, but...
Trump administration's ongoing campaign to intimidate and harass its critics, something that is unprecedented in the modern history of our republic. I mean, Joseph McCarthy was just one U.S. senator. Here we have a president who, from day one of his term, has been wielding the official powers of state in order to try to bring American society to heel, to force everyone to kiss the ring and bend the knee, and to stifle those who would criticize him. And this, I think, is a turning point in the history of American press freedom. The second point is the unbelievable hypocrisy of so many, the president himself and those in his orbit, who have posed as these champions of free speech and political liberty, and who railed against the excesses of cancel culture, now using official power to punish those whose speech they find offensive. And this use of the FCC is unconstitutional. It is such a violation of basic American principles. It should unite the public, and I believe it has the potential to unite the public in the recognition that whatever our views on policy, this administration presents a unique threat to some of the fundamental values that animate America and are enshrined in our Constitution. I mean, if we step back here, there's a lot that should unite us about this moment. We should be united in recognizing that violence targeting political activists, no matter how strongly we may disagree with their views, is completely unacceptable, and it's incompatible with a free society and a flourishing democracy. And we should be united in recognizing that for politicians, for the state, for the government to use official power to intimidate critics, to silence those who speak in ways the government doesn't like, is also fundamentally inconsistent with a free society and a flourishing democracy.
Have you seen Ted Cruz coming out against the FCC? Yeah, I saw him say a thing about it. We'll see if anybody gives a fuck about it, in a week.
I think that the White House is drunk with power, feels completely invincible, and this is overreach of such an extraordinary magnitude that we all have to recognize the threat it poses to press freedom. And by the way, shame on ABC and Disney for bending the knee and capitulating to this censorship.
You'd mentioned that this is something that should unite all of us. And in fact, we've seen plenty of instances, countless instances, where Republicans have staked so much of their credibility on this idea that they are these champions of free speech that they've claimed to be. The reality is that with only the left calling out this move, that's not going to be enough to move this president and this administration to change their ways. There have
been a couple on the right. Yeah, Cruz was one. I think I saw a couple others. But again, will it really be enough? Will it really matter? Will they really actually stand behind this?
Require some voices on the right because the Trump administration can ignore the left all it wants. It's when the pressure.
Why do all of these news orgs seem so cucked by any threat from the administration? Don't they realize the basis for their work is being eroded every time they bend over for Trump? Because the way that it works is if the administration targets you, it could theoretically destroy your entire network, right? So people are criticizing these networks for bending the knee, which I guess they should. But the reality is there's nothing you can really do to stop it. Let's say that they resist, and then let's say that Trump and the FCC go after all of the affiliates, and let's say they all start canceling, they don't carry any of these shows, then you basically go out of business and you can't sustain your operation anymore. And then that's how it works. If the administration targets you for removal, it would require the entirety of the United States to stand against it. But half the US supports Trump. So
really bears down when he's got folks on his own side that lean on him. Is there any indication from anything that you're seeing, whether from your colleagues, whether from folks on the outside, that this is a bridge too far for them?
I don't have a sense of that yet from Republican senators, but I am seeing some of that dissent internal to the president's coalition online.
Yeah.
And I think we have to reach out and make common cause with those who may disagree with us on just about everything, but agree that we have to defend the First Amendment. One of the reasons I think this is a major mistake for the administration and a political error, in addition to an unconscionable abuse of power, is that you are seeing that fragmentation among the president's supporters. This is not what many of them signed up for punishing late night hosts because their content is offensive. That's exactly what so many of the president's supporters were upset about.
They staked their support of him on this idea that he wouldn't do that because he was claiming that this is what happens at the hands of the radical leftists. And so that's why, in large part, they supported Donald Trump.
Yeah, and we need to take the position that policing speech that we find offensive is fundamentally antithetical to the First Amendment, the American Constitution, and the American way. And what they are doing right now is an escalation far beyond anything that we've seen in the last 5 years, far beyond anything that some of the president's supporters were complaining about under the prior administration, or online, or in faculty lounges over the last 5 years. This is the use of official power to intimidate and repress criticism. And, before I was elected, I worked as an investigative journalist exposing human rights abuses.
No. Look, I like Brendan Carr. He's a good guy. He's the chairman of the FCC. I work closely with him. But what he said there is dangerous as hell.
Hold on, for people that are listening, because this is going to be, quote, controversial, so I want to make sure we explain it clearly. When you say no and it's dangerous, explain and run this out, the slippery slope that this can open, so that people understand why we're saying it.
So the Federal Communication Commission is in charge of granting broadcast licenses. So ABC, NBC, CBS, they have licenses from the FCC. It is true that under statute, they're required to be in the public interest.
Yep.
What he is saying is Jimmy Kimmel was lying. That's true. He was lying. And his
not true. So even this is a half-cocked position.
Lying to the American people is not in the public interest. And so he threatens explicitly, we're going to cancel ABC's license. We're going to take them off the air. So ABC cannot broadcast anymore. And I got to say, he threatens it. He says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
Yeah.
I remember saying that when I was reading his tweets. It looked like some mafia shit, the way that he was saying. It's like, maybe we need to look at these. Yeah, so I see retards in chat posting this, quote, neither Carr nor the FCC ever asked ABC or any of the broadcast stations to do anything specifically. There was no formal complaint or a specific action requested. That is true, but every indication that he was giving publicly was that he might start reviewing licenses if people didn't start taking this program off the air or didn't push back against this. So yes, you can have the cuck position if you want to, he didn't actually make a formal specific request. That's not the point.
I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Destiny, can you pretty please go over the rebuttal to Zuckerberg claiming that Biden pressured us to censor posts and started investigating us when we refused? That never not only did that never happen, Zuckerberg, Trump was president in 2020. So over the COVID shit, that wouldn't even been possible. And Zuckerberg spoke vaguely enough to get his props with the Trump administration, but there were no like investigations into Facebook from the FBI for not censoring posts that they wanted to. That was bullshit.
And I got to say, look, I understand. Jimmy Kimmel has mocked me so many times I cannot count. The corporate media, they are dishonest. They are liars. I hate what Jimmy Kimmel said. I am thrilled that he was fired. But let me tell you, if the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if you don't say what we like. That will end up bad for conservatives. It reminds me of, you and I are both fans of The Lord of the Rings. Yeah. J.R.R. Tolkien. It reminds me of like the Ring of Power. And it is so attractive. It's sort of like conservatives saying, wait, if we have government, we have power. Yep. We can ban the media. Let me tell you what will happen. Going down this road, there will come a time when a Democrat wins again. Wins the White House.
Oh, look what he's referencing. What would we call that, guys? Wait, what's he saying right now? Crazy, huh?
The media. Let me tell you what will happen. Going down this road, there will come a time when a Democrat wins again. Wins the White House.
They will get rid of every
Democrat
talk show in America that's a conservative. They'll get rid of every podcast. They'll get rid of everybody on YouTube.
They will silence us. They will use this power, and they will use it ruthlessly. I think it is unbelievably dangerous for government to put itself in the position of saying, we're...
Dusty, every single other thing your side does, you argue the exact semantics, but for this, you're arguing presumptive intentions. What are you talking about? Give me an example. What do you mean?
We're going to decide what speech we like and what we don't, and we're going to threaten to take you off air if we don't like what you're saying. And it might feel good right now to threaten Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
But when it is used to silence every conservative in America, we will regret it. And so, again, I like Brendan Carr, but we should not be in this business.
All right. Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. I don't personally feel in a normal environment that I would want to talk about this. I honestly don't care too much about Jimmy Kimmel. I found a tweet that expresses my exact feelings on the matter. One thing I hate about the Trump era is how you kind of have to get upset about the stupidest shit. Like, this is a gross assault on free speech and art in this country, but it's also Jimmy Kimmel. You're making me defend Jimmy Kimmel. It's also undignified. That's sort of how I feel. Like, listen, as someone who creates content on the internet, it's like that poem, dude. First, they came for the late night talk show hosts, and I did not speak out because I was not a 65-year-old man watching cable TV. Like, I don't care about late night talk show hosts. It's a step towards censorship of people being able to just speak what they want politically online or in public. So I have to say something, especially in this case where it's so egregious. So, quick refresher, this is the monologue that led to Jimmy Kimmel's show getting pulled off the air.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
So, on a quick pause. In the 2 days following Charlie Kirk's assassination, Kimmel did 2 monologues talking against political violence and talking against celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. This part where he's saying that people are trying to characterize the shooter in a certain political aspect, to my knowledge, probably is incorrect. I think the shooter is not MAGA. So it is incorrect, but again, he's a late night talk show host, and this is him doing a monologue, and okay, just first of all, this is it.
But on a human level,
I don't even like what Jimmy Kimmel says here. Maybe he could have phrased it a little bit better, but he's correct.
To score political points from it.
On a quick pause. In the 2 days following Charlie Kirk's assassination, Kimmel did 2 monologues talking against political violence and talking against celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. This part where he's saying that people are trying to characterize the shooter in a certain political aspect, to my knowledge, probably is incorrect.
That is absolutely true. They were absolutely trying to characterize him as being a far left person. Remember, Vance and Trump had full theories on who the shooter was and what his motivations were before we knew anything about the shooter. That's just correct. Kimmel was right on that.
I think the shooter is not MAGA. So it is incorrect, but again, he's a late night talk show host, and this is him doing a monologue, and okay, just first of all, this is it.
But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They just started construction of the new ballroom.
He's at the 4th stage of grief, construction.
Okay, so it's a standard, late night making fun of Trump monologue. There's been 4 million of these. None about that is particularly offensive or crazy. Certainly not worthy of changing the entire structure on how the FCC allows broadcasters to function. However, it was a big moment. So the new chairman of the FCC went on a conservative podcast and said he was furious. And he said if there wasn't some changes at ABC, they were going to do it the easy way or the hard way.
Frankly, when you see stuff like this,
I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt.
Okay, so I want you to, this is a very important clip for the rest of what I'm talking about. This is a government official, the head of the FCC. He's saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way. He is saying we have a lot of power to impact people's ability to broadcast. And also he's saying what he would like to see done. He would like to see affiliates preempt him and demand Disney pull it down, okay? Understand these three things. So it did happen, by the way. So after this, Disney does pull the show. Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congrats to ABC for finally having the courage. Again, I want to talk about the keyword courage. It's all gonna come up later. To do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert, if that's possible. That leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC.
Colbert, another late night host whose show is canceled. And now we name two other late night hosts that the president of the United States doesn't like.
Their ratings are also horrible. Do it, NBC. Listen, it's no secret Trump doesn't like these guys because he's actually watches cable news. What they say, even though none of us watch it because it does have fairly low ratings, matters to him. Is a larger pattern of censorship pushing that I have seen especially escalate in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death. Now, you already know my stance on Charlie Kirk. I didn't celebrate his death either. I made a video where I gave my thoughts on it. I'm not happy with murder. However, this is not free speech. And I want to follow up with some of this. So here's J.D. Vance saying, if somebody celebrated his death, you should call their employer.
So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer.
Then we got Dan Patrick saying,
we're going to remove these leftist liberals on campus who are inciting students. So we're going to hold them accountable. And Laura, I also think that when...
Okay, sorry, hold on. I just want to do this because I see this. Somebody linked Rhetoric subreddit as well. In the video, Rhetoric said that Kimmel was incorrect in his statement, but Kimmel never said the shooter was MAGA. He said the MAGA was doing everything they could to convince people the shooter wasn't MAGA, which is correct. That is true. And then... So this guy here is saying, I think you are missing that Kimmel was implying the shooter was MAGA, even though he did not outright state it. He said that because MAGA was trying to do everything to convince people that he wasn't MAGA, because at that time, people really thought he was. What? That's just not true at all. The assumption, me included, that everybody had was, oh fuck, probably a left-wing shooter, probably, right, or a groyper, but like left-wing violence, it seems more likely that it would be left-wing just given everything. I don't know how many groypers have been a groyper attack before. I don't think anybody was assuming ever that it was a MAGA shooter initially. That's just a total fucking, this guy must be in the conservative media network, or he's lost to the conservative media. Because who the fuck, the only way I can think you could possibly have this opinion is if you were listening to other MAGA people saying that it was a MAGA shooter. Who the fuck thought this? Kimmel said this right around the internet and media outlets were digging into the shooter's past and finding out about how MAGA his parents are and his childhood had been. That's kind of, I think that might have been true by the time Kimmel made this statement. But remember, like people were only saying this in response to the fact that they had already said that he was a leftist trans shooter. So many people were under the assumption that the shooter was also MAGA. People were only bringing this stuff up as a response to the fact that people like Nancy Mace had said the Democrats owned the shooting. Trump and J.D. Vance had already spun a whole left-wing trans radicalist shooter conspiracy out of thin air. Truly insane to think that someone could lose their entire livelihood due to what is essentially a thought crime. He implied something and lost his job from it. This is my issue too when you buy into this framing. That's why you shouldn't even grant this, okay? You shouldn't even grant this because... Fuck. How do you search for, like, note names? I never know how to do this in, file. Match the file name. File. Oh, there we go. Not this one. This one? This one. People will do this thing where, this is why I don't play this game anymore, okay? And I just tell people to eat shit, especially liberals when they do this, right? Oh, you need to be more clear. Oh, you got to clarify. Oh, bullshit. Nobody needs clarity. Everybody knows what everybody means. And like, here is an example. In Donald Trump's speech on January 6th, everybody brings up the fact that he says, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard, okay? I think he says this like 20 minutes into a speech that's an hour and 10 minutes long. Everybody knows this. Well, actually, people don't even quote this correctly. They say he told people to go march peacefully and patriotically. That's not even what he said. He just said he knows people will go make that march, right? And everybody says that, oh, well, see, he told people to go march peacefully and patriotically. Here are other quotes from his speech that day, okay? We took them by surprise, and this year they rigged an election. They rigged it like they've never rigged an election before. All of us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they're doing, or that's what they've done, and that's what they're doing. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Keep in mind, this is on January 6th. The election's over. They're only here to count the electoral votes, okay? And use a favorite term that all you people really came up with. We will stop the steal. Today, I will lay out just some of the evidence proving that we won this election and we won it by a landslide. This was not even a close election. How do you stop the steal at this point? We didn't lose. We will not let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen. I'm not going to let it happen. Audience chants, fight for Trump. Trump says, thank you. Rudy's got guts. Rudy's got guts. He fights. He fights. And he looked at Mike Pence, and I hope Mike is going to do the right thing. I hope so, because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. And all he has to do, this is from the number one, or certainly one of the top constitutional lawyers in our country. He has the absolute right to do it. We're supposed to protect our country, support our Constitution, and protect our Constitution. States want to revote. The states got defrauded. They were given false information. They voted on it. Now they want to recertify. They want it back. All Vice President Pence has to do is send it back to the states to recertify, and we become president, and you are the happiest people, right? He wants them to deny the outcome of the election. I just spoke to Mike, and I said, Mike, that doesn't take courage. What takes courage is to do nothing. That takes courage. And then we're stuck with the president who lost the election by a lot, and we have to live with that for 4 more years. We're not going to let that happen. We have gathered together in the heart of our nation's capital for one very, very basic and simple reason: to save our democracy. For years, Democrats have gotten away. There's 30 of these quotes. You read all this shit, and it's like, damn, okay, well, he did say to march peacefully. Well, what did they do afterwards? Oh, they went and they insurrected at the Capitol. And I was like, well, but he said that they'll go down and march peacefully. Yeah, and then the rest of his speech is talking about how we're at the end of our fucking democracy and that we're about to lose everything because they stole the fucking election. So then when you hear, while there's no evidence to prove any wrongdoing, this is the most fraudulent thing anybody has. This is a criminal enterprise. This is a criminal enterprise. You will have an illegitimate president. The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They're ruthless, and it's time that somebody did something about it. And Mike Pence, I hope you're going to stand up for the good of our Constitution, for the good of our country. And if you're not, I'm going to be very disappointed in you. I will tell you right now, I'm not hearing good stories. Towards the end of his speech, but I said something's wrong here. Something is really wrong. Something really wrong can have happened, and we fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. These were his last words. So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol, and we're going to try and give the Democrats are hopeless. They never vote for anything, not even one vote. But we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try to give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take our country back. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. And what did they do? They walked down. They broke in. And then they delayed the certification of the vote for the first time in all of U.S. history. It's just, so people will see shit like this and they'll make excuses. Oh, he's just speaking metaphorically. So everybody there misunderstood? Everybody that marched to the Capitol and engaged in the riot, and all of them just didn't understand what was being said. Meanwhile, on the Democrat side, it's like, well, when he said that they're trying to do everything they can to make it so that it's not MAGA, then, he should have been more clear because he implied, bullshit, shut the fuck up. Well, Felix W., thanks for the 50 gifted subs, buddy. Bullshit.
People do this. Their picture ought to be on the internet forever with their name so they never get a job. People need to see them.
No, Dustin, I don't care. Would you be willing to talk to me about how antidepressants put you at risk of being trans? No, I don't give a fuck. Go jerk off to transport somewhere else.
Saying if you ever did that, you should be put up on the internet and never be able to get a job. Then Pam Bondi said,
there's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now.
There is no such thing as hate speech. That's not true in the United States of America, but okay.
Especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
I just want to pause there. There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there's no place for the latter, especially after what happened to Charlie. And I think that's a powerful message. I think what she's trying to say is that in the memory of Charlie Kirk, we cannot allow this hate speech. And I think there's some woke.
What? No? She's saying there's free speech, like legally protected speech, and she's saying there's hate speech, like not legally protected speech. That's a crazy read. Maybe he might correct that.
No place.
He's joking. Oh, okay.
Especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
I just want to pause there. There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there's no place for the latter, especially after what happened to Charlie. And I think that's a powerful message. I think what she's trying to say is that in the memory of Charlie Kirk, we cannot allow this hate speech. And I think there's some woke libs out there saying shit like this. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech. There's gross speech. There's even evil speech. And all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. And this So if you're using the memory of Charlie Kirk to create a new category called hate speech that you can persecute opponents on, it doesn't seem to actually be in the memory of Charlie Kirk. Even true patriot and vocal advocate, someone we all look up to, Adam Sandler's friend Rob Schneider, jumped out and said, Pam Bondi is wrong on this one. If free speech means anything, it's the freedom to say things that other people may loathe. Outside of the incitement to violence, free speech is all speech. You're either from all of it or none of it. Wow. Rob Schneider, that's a powerful fucking message. I wonder what Rob Schneider had to say 2 days later when they canceled Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. Disney has suspended him for his comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Disney, for showing a moral spine. Yes. Bro, it's 2 days later. It's 2 days after you're for all of it or you're for none of it. This is crazy. This is such a crazy. Listen, it is not one political aspect of America that has the capability to be hypocritical. I've seen hypocrisy deep and well across our spectrum. One example I mentioned on the podcast today is that I found it to be very annoying and frustrating when Joe Biden made a big stink about how he wasn't going to pardon his son. He was going to let the legal system do his thing and not get involved as president. And then right before leaving office, he did pardon his son. I thought that was like, don't make a big deal about it if you're going to do it. That's hypocrisy. But this example is insane because the pro-free speech, hoorah rah, has been such a rallying cry for this group in particular for so long. And this is so petty and so...
I mean, so was the Epstein stuff. So was the No New War stuff. So was the budget deficit stuff. Like, it's almost like nothing matters.
So small. It's so nakedly hypocritical. And I want to point out two parts, because I think this is about more than just free speech and about more than just Kimmel. And this is the part that kind of worries me and what I want to talk about. Okay, the word courage. The stations had the courage to get this done. Rob Schneider said, thank you, Disney, for having a moral spine. It implies that this was some brave act from these networks, finally like growing a pair and standing up. When in fact, I believe that Bob Iger's decision here, at the end of the day, he pulls the strings, was extremely, extremely spineless and based entirely in fear. Here's the situation.
The companies have to have the courage not to capitulate. They would win ultimately. They're just afraid of, in the meantime, what would be the price they would have to pay.
The companies are afraid, this is Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, describing the basic situation here, which is that these companies are doing a very basic calculus. They are trying to figure out whether the amount of money they will lose by not capitulating will be more or less than the amount the show makes. If it's more, they will give it every time. They don't care enough about the shows or the free speech or anything if it'll get away the money. I want to give you an example. I didn't talk about this at the time because also I don't care about Colbert really. Like, there's all this news. I can't cover every damn thing, but I finally feel like I need to say something. Colbert got taken down. Colbert, not great ratings, also a late night talk show, but the timing of it was so specific. Trump said, I love that Colbert got fired. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next, which is prescient given this was in July. At the same time as
Colbert's show isn't even going off the air for like 7 or 8 months, right? Because they were saying it wasn't making money. Why would they announce it now? It was obviously to appease glorious leader Trump, right?
Colbert got fired. He was part of Paramount, and Paramount was trying to do an $8 billion merger with Skydance, and Skydance needed FCC approval to get the merger done. So what they did was they tossed Colbert in order to get the FCC to give them the approval to get that $8 billion merger done. Now, if you're bigger than Colbert, if you have enough clout, if you're important financially to the Paramount product, you can get away with insulting Trump. Because if you've signed a $1.5 billion 5-year deal, then suddenly it's their problem financially if they get rid of you. But if it's something smaller like Colbert, even if Colbert was profitable but small, they don't want to risk the big money. This is the big money. And they will easily and happily and enthusiastically jump in the way to throw you what you want, to give it up, to toss their own broadcasters under the bus to make sure they can make the big money. And I want to look into what happened here. How exactly did Kimmel, for these relatively minor comments, get taken down? So Kimmel does the broadcast. He does his monologue. The FCC comes out and says the clip we showed at the beginning. Remember this part.
I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say,
okay, he wanted the licensed broadcasters to push back on Comcast and Disney. So how did this actually all happen? Well, it turns out that's how it started. This company, Nexstar, who owns a lot of ABC affiliates. Now, I'm sure this is all very confusing, but if you don't know, or if you're not from America, the news breaks down like this. If you're one channel, you might have 1 million local affiliates all over the country. So Disney might own ABC, which might own Jimmy Kimmel, but they use local affiliates like Nexstar and Sinclair to get it to your actual broadcast. If I'm in Arizona and I go to the same channel as you, the NBC channel, as you in California, I'm going to see something different. That's the affiliate. The affiliate will play mostly the same shows. They'll play Kimmel and The Office and whatever, and then they'll have local news. And the reason they do this is so they can have local advertisements to your own area. And these affiliates are owned by different people, like Nexstar and Sinclair. So Nexstar jumped at the chance to do what the FCC wanted. And they wrote a big letter saying Kimmel has to be taken down. And we're pulling him off all of our 13 major networks they have for ABC. This is what kicked it up. This is what led to Jimmy Kimmel getting off the air. Now, what do you think was happening at the exact same time that would make Nexstar really interested in doing whatever the FCC wanted? That's right, a massive $6 billion merger. Nexstar is trying to buy Tegna, another major distributor, right now. And if you look at the article, what did they need? They need approval from the FCC. So we are seeing this right now, dude. It all comes back to using the ability of the FCC to make the bottom line hurt for these companies, that they are willingly giving up any semblance of like, they could fight this stuff in court and probably win. Again, the free speech is pretty covers what Jimmy Kimmel said, but they don't want to lose this money. And that is the problem. That is what we're getting at. We're getting to the point where the threat of the dollar is being thrown around with the power of the presidency in the office to just squelch and smother free speech. And the reason I care so much about this is like, Like, there really isn't a massive jump from threatening a cable affiliate to get them to take Kimmel off the air to threatening YouTube's ability to merge. Like, if Google has a $5 billion merger in the works to buy a company, they will toss any YouTuber under the bus, no problem. None of these companies have a spine, bro. None of them. And so the idea that any one of them is going to stand up if there's bigger money at stake is completely nonsensical. Oh yeah, that was one more thing I wanted to say. An Australian journalist asked Trump a question. He goes, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "Australia." And he's like, "You're going to make it real hard for your country."
That a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
He asked him, "Is it appropriate?"
I love that. It's not my business. It's just my kids. Oh, okay, bro. Thank you, bro. Oh.
That a president in office would be engaged in so much business activity. That's a pretty fair question. That's a pretty fair question because you can profit a lot as president.
From the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Paul Cornyn program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. They want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone. Go ahead, John.
It's insane. The guy should be able to ask the question without being reported to the president.
Like, this in and of itself should just be, that's like one thing where, like, if Biden or if, like, that should be an impeachable statement, right? Like, that in and of itself is just such an unbelievable thing to say, that because a journalist asked me a mean question, I'm going to bring that up with your leader so that you're in charge of whether or not that meeting goes good or bad. Like, that's insane.
Of Australia. What is this? Narc pussy ass shit, dude. What is this problem? Just answer the question. Which is why I feel like I have to say something about this. It's trash, dude. This is not at all in any way acceptable. If you don't like Jimmy Kimmel, don't watch him. He'll be off the air. Late night shows are dying. But you can't weaponize it and weaponize government in this way to get a show taken down. Anyway, that's my update.
Okay, some guy made an LED cat light sign thing for me. Oh, and it's technically on sale, so I'm opening that now. Hold on. XQC's 99% pure crystallized rage bait reaction to the FCC chair's statement. Did we watch some of this already, or?
Medicine.
It looks fun.
You want to play? Okay, thanks. I'll use my ability and attack. Nice play.
Come play at your local Pokemon League.
Consumer
Local
Reports used
Pokemon
road
League.
tests, owner surveys, and safety ratings to name Subaru their 2025 most reliable and best overall automotive brand, and the Outback a recommended model. Get to
Oh yeah, supposedly Patrick Boyle. You remember this guy, right? I think he did like a video on Epstein. He got demonetized, he got demonetized as well. I think same day as me. The fuck?
Action. Look it up.
Interesting. Well, I think it's awful. I think it's awful.
Dems getting a small taste of their own medicine.
But I gotta be honest with you. It's important to choose your stance on this, right? And say, I choose this stance regardless of its extension. And what I mean by that, hold on, is guys, I'm either for cancellation or not for cancellation, flat out. And I will not cherry pick like a cuck. It's unfortunate that we're in this situation, but people pick and choose all of them like a bunch of bitches. Oh, dude, Jimmy Kimmel's canceled. Rah! We shouldn't cancel. Blah, blah, blah. When people that have been saying edgy shit that's on more of the right side inclination, but been getting canceled for fucking what for forever, right? And I like I'm saying, I'm just saying, if you're gonna choose that stance, you have to stand on business. That's the problem these days. People don't stand on business about these topics. They don't. It's when these guys do it, we'll cash into it. Like I always said last time, they cash in the win when it's the opponent's side losing, and they complain it's happening when it's their side losing. That's a problem. That's a problem.
I think you can certainly make that argument. Just look at Colbert, right? The reporting that came out after Colbert was canceled is that his show was losing $50 million a year. Why were they, losing $50 million? And again, I think there's a lot of commentary on late night having shifted dramatically over the last 10 years. It used to be that they would go.
Example, I don't know, somebody who made a right side non-liberal take that was bad, got canceled. I mean, you act like this. Oh, if you don't have an example, you're automatically wrong because you don't have your data with you on paper. Dude.
For laugh lines,
it's not some
shifted
you'll
to
find
going
some
for applause lines. They went from being court jesters that made fun of everybody, as should happen. You should parody everybody. Trust me, I'm getting my fair share of parodies, and that's fine. But they started replacing that and becoming court clerics and enforcing a very narrow world view, and I think that just tanked the business.
Okay. I don't need to watch this fucking retarded. Sonic explains Destiny's World. No, I can't. Not right now. These people are crazed lunatics. Wait.
You just mentioned the TikTok deal with China, and among the many conversations that have happened in the aftermath of the assassination of your good friend Charlie Kirk has been the terrible effects that social media has had on young people. And among the platforms that have been spewing this hatred and these cheering people about Charlie Kirk's assassination is TikTok. So the question is it worth it for the damage that it has done in many ways to our kids?
So I didn't know too much about TikTok, and Charlie actually recommended it to me. He said, you should go on TikTok, but other people too. And I went on TikTok, and I really hit big. I mean, I think I had more views than anybody else in the world, actually. And as you know, I did phenomenally with youth, young people, very young people, young voters that typically are Republican. I think Romney got like 6% or something like that. It wasn't so long ago. And I got tremendous, millions and millions of young kids.
Absolutely.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I give TikTok and Charlie and probably some other reasons, but we did well. But I got to understand TikTok. You're right. They said negative, but they also said mostly positive about Charlie. I mean, the statements on TikTok and other places. Now, look, I saw on Fox and I saw on others some of the quotes that people made that were so horrible. And you say, where do these people live? Where do they come from? They said horrible things about the death of Charlie. And I guess we just have sick people out there. I mean, even if you didn't like them, you can't say the kind of things that they say. But that was long beyond TikTok. That was things that were said.
So there's a lot of things out there. And you have this executive order now that we just heard about on political violence and hate speech.
Right.
And you want to make Antifa a terrorist organization.
They are.
Do you believe that there is a vast terrorist...
I don't think you can designate domestic terrorist organizations. I don't even think that's possible. There's a reason why, like, the KKK, nobody's ever been designated as a domestic terrorist organization. So I don't even know what that Trump tweet or truth or whatever the fuck is supposed to mean.
Movement in the United States that people need to be aware of? And is it responsible for Charlie Kirk's killing, for the attempts on your life, for these CEOs that we saw in New York City? Is there something people need to understand?
You never know, and we'll find out maybe. But in the meantime, we're going to do a big thing with respect to Antifa. It's a sick group. I mean, very, very sick group. We have a lot of things. They love
who the fuck is Antifa these days? Like, who are we even talking about? My God.
Burning the American flag. I think it's terrible that they burn the American flag. We're going in and we're saying it incites riots, and therefore you go to jail for 1 year if you burn the American flag. That's different than Antifa, but Antifa burns a lot of American flags. Because as you know, the free speech got us on the American flag. The courts have ruled free speech, so we're going to go on an incitement of riots. I saw it the other day. I saw it the other day in Newsroom. They have an American flag, and a guy starts burning it.
Hello.
And the people went crazy about it, and they
Test. Wait, does it respond to my voice? No, it's just glowing. Never mind, okay.
ended up rioting all over the place. So we think that's a reason also. And we're going into the courts with that, which is incitement. Antifa causes tremendous incitement, and the things they say and the things they do are horrible. So we're going to find out.
You said millions and millions of dollars going towards some of these groups for agitation the other day.
They're agitators.
Who are they?
Well,
and where's the money coming from? Is it foreign entities?
Yeah, you're going to find out, and we're going to find out in great detail. And it surprised me that Biden wouldn't have done it, because it really became hot over the last 3-4 years. It surprised me that Biden wouldn't do it, but then as I got to know him, first of all, he didn't call the shots. He wasn't calling the shots. But as we got to see what was happening in Biden's group, Antifa plays perfectly for them, absolutely perfectly. But it's a terrorist organization, in my opinion, and we're going to find out. All those questions are going to be answered.
Charlie said, that there was no such thing as hate speech. He obviously, no one anticipated what happened to Charlie, but you have always been in favor of free speech.
Yeah.
So do you
Jesus Christ.
anticipated what happened to Charlie, but you have always been in favor
You might not say that now.
of free speech.
Yeah,
so do you have concerns about, some people look at this and your critics will say, well, this crackdown is a crackdown on free speech?
It's interesting. I watch your show and I watch others, and I see people saying things. They're crazy. These people are crazed lunatics, even the way they'll answer. It's like you'll see them, and the things they say are really bad, but they look crazy. They're almost crazed. Maybe they're drugged out. Maybe there's some other problem. But the kind of things you hear, actually you probably don't put most of them on, but the kind of things you hear are so unbelievable. You wouldn't think, you're a very regular person. I am too. I'm a regular person. Who would make the statements that they make? Did you see the guy the other day run through all the flowers that put down in loving memory of Charlie? This maniac runs through the flowers, kicking them all down and stepping and stomping on them. Unfortunately, somebody grabbed him and gave him a rap. But the guy looks like a normal guy. And who would do that? I mean, who would do it? Running through these plants.
But that's ruining property. So once you cross the line from just speaking.
It's not the ruining property. It's the concept of doing it. Who would do this?
No, it's horrible.
You have people that are
But
placing...
you have the freedom in this country to burn a flag, but not to ruin, someone's... That's the question, where do you draw the line, I guess, is
Well,
the
you can say the ruination of property, because you probably do better with that, because free speech seems to be able to do anything. So you can say... But when I saw this thing... It was
annoying, so troublesome, that freedom of speech. So fucking irritating, right?
Couldn't believe it. I had to rewind it and say, I love the rewinding. It's without it, we couldn't live without it, because sometimes you can't believe it. But I watched this young guy running through and kicking everything around.
And he had a T-shirt on that was the same T-shirt.
It's just a terrible thing. That's the other thing. They have signs and they're all professionally made. Real protesters make them in their basement. And they're all the same.
So who's behind it? Do you have a gut?
This is part of the Soros conspiracy that all the protests are not authentic and it's literally just paid protesters that are being sent around by Soros and affiliates, yeah.
Well, you hear Soros. I don't know. We're gonna
who the fuck would we even know who Soros is if the conservative media hadn't brought it up constantly? 8 years later,
find out if he's behind it. But it's incitement to riot. That's a criminal act, and people are dying because of it. So it's really, it's death. So we're gonna find out, and it should have been done a long time ago.
Let me ask you, as a parent and a grandparent, when you look at these stories, right? This guy, Tyler Robinson, Thomas Crooks, who almost took your life, Luigi Mangione has all these people supporting him. What's your advice to parents?
Think about Mangione. He shot someone in the back. As clear as you're looking at me or I'm looking at you, he looked like a pure assassin. I was surprised, actually. You would have thought this guy would have been at a central casting in the movie, and maybe he was. But he think of what he did. He openly, it's not like, gee, there's a question. If there's a question, you can understand it, maybe. But there's not a question. He walked up to a man, didn't give him warning, didn't say turn around, didn't do like the Old West where you have a gunfight.
Why would you give somebody a warning if you're trying to assassinate them?
Each have a gun. He shot him right in the middle of the back, instantly dead.
And he didn't even challenge him to a duel?
Oh, he's like, I'm watching, the girls are going crazy for him. This is a sickness. This is, this really has to be studied and investigated. It's not possible.
And these people are all, allegedly, at this point, they're all in the process in the Department of Justice. But what would you say to parents who are worried about kids getting deep into these holes on the internet, spending too much time gaming?
They should be worried. When you look at the picture of Charlie, I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. I specifically, they told me what happened. I would have never made a good doctor. Okay, I don't like the blood and all of the things. And some people view that as like, ho hum. I was watching something and it was, there's a lot worse on the internet and things. They watch this stuff. So that, there is a point at which it really does get to be pretty sick. I specifically said, they had it all teed up. They said, I don't want to remember Charlie that way. This was such a good guy. You know him probably very well. I assume you know him very well. Right? He was a great guy.
Not as well as you, but yes.
No, but he was a great person. He really was a great person. I actually said, Charlie, someday, I think you have a good chance of being president. I think you will be president, maybe. And I think he would have had a great chance. He was very compelling. I've never seen anybody capture a group of people like he captured youth. He captured youth. It was incredible. When I say he was a young guy, but I'm talking about the 20-year-olds and the 18-year-olds. It was like he had a following that was incredible.
He did. Do you feel, last question for you, sir, because I know you've had a couple of days. I appreciate your time.
I just didn't have the courage to tell you I'm not doing it, because I studied every monument and every painting in the entire UK. And I said, finally, I'm doing it. No, you're doing an interview with Martha. Oh, that's great.
Well, let me ask you this after the last week.
But it's an honor to do it.
Thank you. It's great to have you. Great to have you, sir. Do you think it's the responsibility, is it a role as president to bring people together? Is that part of the job?
Ideally.
Ideally. Oh, they're begging again for some kind of unity thing. Oh my God, can he do it? Can you bring us together, President Donald Trump? Hold on.
You, sir. Do you think it's the responsibility, is it a role as president to bring people together?
Can he say yes without immediately talking about the radical left Democrats, the radical left evil Democrats? Let's go. We can do it.
Is that part of the job?
Ideally. So I get this question so much. And when you see the kind of hatred out there, it's like unbelievable. And it's probably always been there. We just don't realize it. But I saw it starting with President Obama. I saw tremendous hatred. I saw levels that we've never seen before. And with Biden, it got far worse. Just far worse when you look at what happened. This last 4 years has been terrible. But during my term, we had tremendous economic success. And just before COVID, I was getting calls from people that you wouldn't believe, people that you know very well, but people, I would call them the radical left or certainly the left. more so than what we would think of as a traditional Democrat. And they wanted to get together. Remember that just before COVID, we had to handle the COVID. I think we did a great job with that, but it was COVID. The whole world was thrown asunder, right? The whole world went.
Still recovering.
Oh my God. Is this guy taking vocab lessons? He used another word that impressed me like 3 weeks ago, fatalist or something. Now we've got asunder, torn asunder. Oh my goodness. Somebody's helping him.
In a lot of ways as an economy.
In many ways, young people are recovering.
Yes.
Because they missed
They're in the basement,
a piece of their
gaming.
life. Yeah, no, a piece of their life was taken away.
Yes,
I wonder what
that's
it would
true.
be like if we didn't have that horrible thing that took place and it came from a certain place, and it was a terrible thing. It was a terrible thing. But if you think about it, when this happened, all of these things happened, and they all happened at once, and you do wonder, what would it be like? We would have had a different, I think we would have had a different world, but it's very sad. It's very sad. What I would say is this, success brought people together. And I think the only thing that's going to bring them is tremendous success, and that includes economic success. I was getting calls from people, Martha, that you would not, if I told you some of the people, and I'll tell you if you want later, but I don't want to give them any publicity because they went bad as soon as...
Crazy Eric can never, ever say the name of any of the people calling him, ever.
Things started going a little bit differently. But people wanting to get together, wanting to have lunch, wanting to talk, it was amazing, actually. And I say it loud and clear. I think the only thing that's going to bring us together is tremendous success.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your time. Good to be with you. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our...
U.S. President Donald Trump. If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Air Base back to those that built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. Does he not realize that he gave that to the Taliban? Does he not remember the deal that he signed? Or I can see he's been going like real hard on this.
You're right. Charlie Kirk was all about free speech and going around the country and engaging. What do you say to Democrats or folks on the left who say that there is now this...
God, I hate this evil piece of shit. I don't know who's worse, him or Stephen Miller. My God.
Effort to go after free speech on the left. You have just last night ABC suspending Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely over his remarks after Charlie Kirk's death. Then you have Democrats saying that like Adam Schiff, Kimmel, Colbert, suits against the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, 60 Minutes. They're concerned what will be left of the First Amendment when the president is done. How do you respond to that?
Well, listen, my background is in the courts. I was a federal court litigator, literally defended free speech as a career for about 20 years, religious freedom and the freedom.
And now I'm done. Now I've given up on that.
Of speech and our fundamental rights. We have to jealously guard that, you know, and I think we are. ABC is a private company. You've heard a lot of consternation about private companies firing or reprimanding employees for going online and glorifying the tragic death of a young father and young husband, and it's detestable. So in the private employer space, you have all the right. And
bro, can somebody get this guy off my nuts?
His fucking house.
Holy shit.
Some highlights from their debate. They also went later for chicken and waffles and ice cream. Remind that Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi that's previously called for...
Yeah, we ate afterwards. Yeah, we did. But we debated the whole time. This guy literally spotlights Bad Empanato on his stream and agrees with every single thing he does while he's doxing and trying to get fucking murdered, me and Loaderbox and all of his other political opponents. Like, yes, in person. Yeah, we are talking in person and being cordial and polite in person like I do in all of my debates with everybody. Yes. But, like, the difference is you will see, like, the audacity of him to try to showcase this as me being a Nazi, which, like, nobody thinks this. Nobody in my audience, nobody thinks that we're Nazis. Nobody in my audience are like, oh yeah, Nazi destiny. Meanwhile, he thinks that this is like comparable to or worse than him watching terrorists doing terrorism and him being like, these guys are awesome and based.
Even his audience is aware of it. You know what I mean? Like, his audience saw it and celebrated it at the time.
Yeah, I think he's just mad because, like, Republicans have been fighting with me or something. I don't even know.
What is this about? Ryan Beard saying, I didn't say who should be pandering to who. I said that it was dumb for Destiny to hope that Trump takes Hassan out. I'm not asking Destiny to pander to Hassan. I'm asking him to not promote authoritarians coming for Hassan because that's not going to help liberals whatsoever. To which he, once again, comes up with this. Hassan will never be a target of the current administration. Literally been detained by Customs and Border Patrol.
Fuck every idiot dipshit that fucking furthered that bullshit ass fucking lie. You got questioned for 15 minutes, bro.
He up by saying, like, I actually have
and lied about his story.
Interest in like doing real politics, simply just shitting on the Democrats. Again, interesting, but projection. He has no interest in helping anyone at all, but simply exercising his petty agendas.
Okay.
People like Hassan play a role in the current
Good
power
one.
structure to keep the left weak and divided is also ridiculous.
That's all he does.
When I worked on a mayoral campaign, you guys are on Mamdani. When Destiny did,
He worked on his claim is that he worked on Mamdani's mayoral campaign? Bro, you're delusional. You're not on the same team. Nobody likes you. You're not associated with anybody politically in any official manner.
the dude had to literally resign in disgrace.
God. All right, don't rage bait me with this fucking retard.
In the world to have standards for your company, standards for your broadcast brand. And, they get to make that decision. And I don't think that's a violation of the First Amendment. You don't have a First Amendment right to stay employed if you're going to engage in that kind of crazy action online. And in many cases, it really is inciting further.
His inferiority complex is so pathetic, he would love to have the target on his back that Destiny currently has. No, he wants the attention. He doesn't want the target because he doesn't do anything to get a target on his back. All he does is relentlessly shit on Democrats all day long. That's all he does. All of his most edgy rhetoric, all of his most edgy fucking shit that he's out there doing, I guess with the exception of that one, the Mike Lee tweet or whatever, is just him fucking attacking Democrats constantly.
Violence. It's a serious problem.
Ending where we began. You're right. Charlie Kirk was all about free speech.
Okay, I have this guy set up. Look, his cat artwork of me and Dan. And the DGG cat. I don't know who the DGG cat is, but he's here. Cute. I forgot how I set this up later. I think we're selling these guys, and we're selling Live and Let Live t-shirts, and this massive blanket. If it's expensive, it's just because of the tariffs, okay? Blame Trump. And if it's domestically expensive, it's also because of the tariffs. Do you ever notice Hassan only decides to hate you super hard when you're in the news or other stuff is going on? He like totally just wants to get under your skin. That's all he's doing, Lamau. Well, he has to be like the poster boy of the left, but he tries to ride this cringe line where he's attacking everybody on the left by trying to be, I don't know, he's just cringe as fuck. The problem is he's just mad because he's not getting any traction with all these little puff pieces that his PR agency's gotten written about him and all of these other mainstream media outlets. He's not getting any traction anywhere because nobody gives a fuck about, it's the same message constantly with no desire to engage in real politics at all. And he's got this massive inferiority complex because he knows he's not intelligent. He knows he can't have challenging or critical conversations. So he just desperately wants to be this himbo, but he's aging out of that attraction age bracket. That's why he tried desperately to get involved with all the weird Zoomer shit and the Gen Alpha shit. And he's ass paying that he wasn't able to integrate into any of those communities. So it's just it's just fucking cringe. He can't transition to real politics because he's never cared about politics. He's just cared about drama slop and being cool, which is fine. I don't give a fuck, but don't make me a part of your inferiority complex, damn. Jesus. Okay, I'll be back later. I have stuff I have to do to catch up on. I'm probably just playing games later though, okay? Stay bad. I love y'all very much. Let's connect. Oh, Hobbit, we'll talk tomorrow, but I think too, okay? Duck, Wing, Rocket, Star, Lark. Oh, my debate with Myron is tomorrow. I think that got moved. I might not have moved on my schedule. Rocket, Star, Lark, Dip, Dodge, Senator, Ram, Dive, Fry, Ford, Chip, Scraper, Lincoln, Flyer. Is this supposed to be a bait about cars? Dodge, Ford, Lincoln. This is a bait, I think. Duck, dodge, dive, and dip? Okay, just kidding. Things that are in the sky, a flyer, a rocket, a star. Oh, wait. Oh, God, I'm not going to know it. Presidents or something? Ford, Lincoln. There's like the first like 10, 15 presidents, like people never fucking remember their names. This is not anything. Fuck! I'm not going to know it. I have no idea. Okay, hold on. One of the... Wait. Okay. A fry, a chip, a wing, and a dip? Things that you get like fast food? Maybe things... Okay. A bit of sports bar fare. Okay. Okay. We've got... Did I already guess all this? Dodge, duck, dive, ram. I think I did, right? No, I didn't. It's not even one off? Bro, what the fuck is this? Fuck me. Rocket. Ship. Starship. Duck ship. Space rocket, space star. Wait, skyscraper, skydive, sky flyer? Is that a thing? And sky senator, sky duck, sky dodge, a sky rocket? A sky star? Skylark? Isn't that like the name of a thing? Sky flyer. There's no way sky flyer is a real thing. A sky rocket? Sky duck? Fuck me. I don't care. Get me the fuck out of here. God damn it. Car brands. Wait. Oh, fuck. I thought Ram was a model. Fuck. Like, isn't it a Dodge Ram? Am I wrong? Wait, is Ram a make? Ram trucks. Oh, fuck me. Oh, who the fuck? What? Do these people even sell cars? They separated? Oh, fuck. God damn it. That was an easy one then. Dodge spun off Ram into its own brand. Oh, well, fuck me. Because I'm thinking like Dodge Ram, so that was a bait. NHL team member. I would have never gotten this. A duck, flyer, senator, and star? And skydive, skylark, skyrocket? Oh, like skyrocket. Not like a rocket in the sky, but like it's skyrocketing. Fuck. Fuck. Whatever. Okay. Hopefully I'm back tonight. Be careful. I love y'all.